Blake, what's the second best thing you've ever found at church?
Well, the best thing I've ever found was the Lord.
Welcome to the Church Gear Podcast, where we pull the tech out of the booth and onto the stage to share the most outlandish stories and hidden wisdom from the tech trenches. And now, here are your hosts.
I'm your host, Blake Hodges, a man who actually found the Lord at camp like a proper Protestant, and I'm here with my co-host who is still looking for the Lord but just keeps finding gear instead, Toby Walters.
Proper Protestant. That's some good alliteration right there.
So, you hired a marketing guy to train me, and it's starting to work a little bit.
And the whole point of my teeing you up, the second best thing you ever found at church, was because I know the first best thing is the Lord. Duh.
Right. And the second best thing was I found my friends that introduced me to you. So the third best thing, though, is how I found my wife? When they say to turn around and meet the person behind you? That's how I found her.
And so you're saying that I am better than your wife?
Toby, does my wife pay me? No.
I don't know. Maybe.
I
don't know what kind of arrangement your marriage is.
Yeah, that would be a weird arrangement.
I know. So I did meet my wife at church as well. So I'll give the quick story that I was a worship leader at a church of about 50 people. And when you have 50 people at the church, there are not many eligible.
And how many of them
bachelors.
Last name was Walters as well already?
No, there was nobody else from my family at the church. So there were no eligible ladies in my, same general sphere.
You didn't want Sister Margaret, who was on her fifth marriage?
Correct. So a group of us went to a young adult service at another big church in town and really enjoyed it. Great worship. And then at the end, they said, hey, we got a couple new small groups starting up. If you're interested in joining a small group, go talk to Jason or go talk to Shelly. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go talk to Shelly. So that's the moment I first met my wife. I approached her and said, hey, I'm interested in a small group. And she said, oh, great. Like, we're meeting here and here's the information. And so a week later, it was Wednesday night is when they met. And I'm getting ready to leave my house. I still live with my parents at this point. And my dad's...
Well, you still do right now. I don't know why you're saying that.
It saves money on rent. Hello. Yeah. So my dad's parting words to me, and I kid you not, was, Toby, leave those girls alone. I'm like, sure, Dad. Sure, I'll do that.
How old are you in this story?
21.
Okay.
Yeah. So I go, I saw the address where it was, and I knew it was like Shelly lived with her parents at that time. And I saw the address and I was like, wait a second, this is in like the same school district I grew up in. And so I went and found an old yearbook. And sure enough, in middle school, we went to middle school together and we just never knew each other.
Well, you never knew her. She was avoiding you like the plague. But
as most people do. So I brought the yearbook and I showed it to her. And that was kind of the first step in trying to flirt. And of course, she's horrified because how many of us have like really good 7th grade pictures?
Well, she's horrified because it's really creepy that you hunted her down in a yearbook before you even met her. You should have checked her Instagram like a proper Protestant.
I mean, that's true. And so this was, obviously when I was adult, and I want to, go back to those middle school years. We never knew each other in middle school. But when I showed up to middle school, there was this girl named Amanda. And Amanda was part of the cool clique. And she was one of the it girls. And she had a crush on me, Blake. Can you imagine that?
I can't. You're lying.
I know.
That's all we do on this podcast.
So I felt like I have finally arrived. One of the it girls has a crush on me. And we were doing year-round school schedule. Did you ever do that growing up?
No. You didn't get summer break off?
No, we had 3 one-month breaks instead of an entire summer break.
If you're the person who made this happen, shame on all of your houses.
So we were, Amanda and I were flirting. We're kind of like moving towards maybe we'll go together. That's what we called it. Yeah. But then we went on break for 1 month. And so we're on vacation for 1 month. And I come back and I'm like, okay, we'll pick up right where we left off. But she's kind of being cold to me. She's not paying attention to me anymore. She's not flirting back.
She remembered she was the it girl.
Yes. And so finally she said, I'm so sorry. On the break, I went on a family cruise and I ended up reuniting with my old boyfriend, John. And we're back together now. And I was like, no.
That's so romantic.
I know. So many, many years later, I was telling this story to my wife, Shelly. And she said, wait a second, Amanda Taney? And I was like, yes, you knew her? She said, oh yeah, I was on that cruise. My wife on her watch just let Amanda get back together with her ex-boyfriend, John.
Maybe she orchestrated it to
I
get
think
you.
she did. This whole time, she's an evil genius and was just waiting for me.
And I think we were been evil geniuses here, just waiting to introduce the engineer at Fellowship Church, Alexa, or as Daniel calls her, my supreme ruler, and Daniel, the media director, or as Alexa calls him, my sugar bear pudding pie, which is ironically the same thing I call Toby when we're not recording. Welcome to the show, Alexa and Daniel.
Hi.
Hey. Thank you for having us.
And to clarify for our listeners, because they're like, what are these two idiots, Blake and Toby, doing this week? We're celebrating Valentine's Day with our very own, so what do we call, the royal couple? Is it Prince?
The royal we?
Prince William, Prince Harry, and my wife would be so ashamed now. I don't know their couple names.
I'm starting to wonder if you even have a wife.
I know. You guys, I'm just saying, you're the royal couple of the church production community. So we're very excited to have you on.
Your Highnesses, I think was how we would say that. So I think we're playing a new Valentine's Day game with them, right? Like they sent in, Alexa's got 2 truths and a lie, and Daniel's got 2 truths and a lie. So they're trying to play with us to guess the other ones.
Okay. Are you guys looking to play along, or do you already know everything about each other?
No.
That was the hard part. Originally, I was like, oh, she knows all these answers. Can't do that.
Okay.
Nope, we don't know them. We didn't share. So we're ready to play.
And I know we'll get into their background, but just so they know before we play the game, if you're listening, they are married and work at a church together in the production department.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Okay, Blake, who's up first?
Alexa's up first.
Okay.
All right. Number 1, I once loaded a truck and flipped over the hazer on accident. Number 2, I once did a concert where we lost all power and had to panic to figure out what to do next. Number 3, I once did a WWE event and learned all the wrestling was pre-planned. That's a tough beat, Alexa.
Yeah.
I did collegiate debate and I had to argue it was a sport. And my opponent the whole time said, it's not a sport, it's fake. And I didn't know anything about it. So I was like, that's crazy. It's not fake.
Yeah.
So I lied accidentally the whole time.
Yeah. And now you're assuming the NFL is fake since the Kansas City refs it's all a setup now, right?
Look, Toby, the Commanders are finally doing well. I can't believe it's not real now.
Okay, Daniel, I think we need to give you the first option here. Which one do you think is the lie?
I don't think Alexa touches lighting gear anymore. So I don't think she's going to flip over a hazer, and she's going to catch that sign that says no flip. So I don't think that's it. She doesn't panic. Losing power is part of production. And I could see learning at a young age, it's all fake. Everything is staged. I'm going to have to go with the lie being, let's say, flipped over the hazer.
Okay.
I'm picking in the WWE. That's one I'm
So do I
in.
have to default to the one you guys didn't select?
You can team up with one of us.
All right.
You're your own man.
I'm going to jump on Daniel's bandwagon since that's his wife, and I'm going to say it's a hazer as well. So let's find out.
So I did accidentally flip over a hazer one time because someone put it in the wrong case. So it did not have the flip over, like don't flip logo. So not really my fault, but that is true. And I did, when I was in like high school, we did a WWE event for charity, and they were in there rehearsing while I was setting up. And I was like, what are you doing? So I learned that was fake. And Daniel is correct. I do not panic. That is not necessarily something that I do. So we did lose power, but I had the generator already up and going. So my lie is that we panicked. We did not.
Daniel, you knew the lie and didn't pick it.
Well, it's a hard one because the wrestling, I could see that being real. I could see the hazer. They both kind of work. Because come on, she's you've met her. Attention to detail is her thing. And who's going to miss the no flip sign?
Yeah. This is a sneaky woman. I mean,
Toby,
she's very attentive to detail, and she just tricked us all.
Speaking of being sneaky, weren't you at Fellowship many times? Did you put that hazer up wrong?
Don't worry about that.
Okay. Let's do Daniel's 2 truths and a lie. So Alexa won that game, though, we should say.
Yeah.
She literally only had 3 options. Most guests have 6. And most guests are just trying to beat 2 people. So she beat one more person with half the material.
Yeah. She's brilliant.
The supreme ruler, as Daniel calls her.
Yes.
Daniel's 2 truths and a lie. Number 1, I've traveled with my family and solo across 5 of the 7 continents. Is the solo singing or is that like a rock climbing thing? Number 2.
You don't want Daniel to sing.
I won
Tell
the
me that here.
Texas State Marching Band Championship twirling a flag.
He looks like a twirling guy.
I think you want to take him for a twirl. Number 3, I won a community fishing tournament. The newspaper printed my picture and said I was 6 when I was 13. That would have been so much better if he was like 13 and it said he was 38 because he had like his beard already.
Well, he's 17 now, so
If only.
yeah.
I'm going to say it was not the Texas State Marching Band because I bet you were in the marching band, but I bet you were a trumpet guy, not the flag twirler.
And I'm going to say the lie is about the fishing thing in with your picture in the paper. Alexa, we locked ours in first. Now you get to decide.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Texas State Marching Band. I don't think he was twirling a flag. I'm pretty sure he was in the pit.
Do you know what instrument he was
So-
playing?
I don't remember. I just remember him being in the pit.
Okay, Daniel, if I got the instrument right and it was trumpet, you're now my husband instead of Alexis. So we've locked in. What's the lie?
Well, it gets a little weird here because that's not the lie, but you were right about the trumpet. But yes.
Way to go.
Exactly. But I can't move my foot properly, so I wasn't allowed to be the main person on the field. So instead, I took a 15-foot flag and twirled it at the very end of our state marching band contest. Yeah. Because we were, again, state champions. I couldn't roll my foot properly, so I wasn't allowed to be in the front portion for state. But I played trumpet for all the games and then pit later on because of that issue. But the lie would be continents. And it's a small one. I've been to 4 continents, not 5. You know, had to go with some small details there.
Wow.
Goodness.
They both fooled us all.
So are they the best? Did they just win this for
I
like
think
our
so.
entire catalog of episodes?
This just seems like a really good pitch for marriage.
It's a power couple right
Yeah.
now.
Well, guys, Alexa, you've been on before. You are a total pro at the Church Gear podcast. Daniel, we'll see how you do. You might get voted off the island,
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
you know, to get started.
I meant to be behind the camera. You know, I spent 23 years behind the camera,
Yeah.
so...
Well, can you guys each just give us a quick overview of your background in production and what led to your roles at Fellowship today?
Yeah. So I toured and I did concerts and live events kind of all through high school and did that for a really long time. And then actually left the audio world and left live production for a while. I really felt called to go into the classroom full time. And so I taught downtown Dallas for 3 or 4 years and loved it. And then COVID happened and I stopped teaching. And the Lord was super gracious and opened up a space at Fellowship where I had been going to church and kind of serving on and off, and opened up a space and said like, hey, do you want to, I had somebody approach me and say, we know about your background. We'd love to have you on staff. And it was 2 days before I had to sign my teaching contract for the next year. So I was like, okay. Sounds good. So I've been on staff now at Fellowship as an engineer. This is 3.5 years. So I miss touring and I miss being on the road and I miss the like guerrilla audio side. But Fellowship definitely has no lack of change and movement and different things. I was on the phone right before this with one of our campus PMs who unplugged his entire PA. So and I know it's Wednesday night, so we have a service tonight. And I'm like, okay, great. We'll get to you in a minute. Yeah.
I bet he is panicking right now. Did he say why he unplugged all of it?
Well, okay. This is a whole story. So we had a rat chew through the cables powering his subs.
Mm-hmm.
So we finally found that this morning.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we'll run 2 cables, just run 2 blank XLR. We're going to get you up and going for today. And as he was plugging in these 2 XLR that are like to replace them, he pulled a little bit too hard and pulled all of the connectors out of the back of this core. So
Whoops.
whoopsies. He called me. He was like, I did something bad. And I was like, yeah, okay, great. What'd you do, buddy?
At least he owned up to it.
Yeah,
right
he
away,
owned up
right?
to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Daniel, how often do you call her and say, I did something bad and I'm owning up to it?
More on the home front? Yeah.
And Daniel, how about you and your background?
Yeah, so I was saved at Fellowship at 13, started volunteering there. And then when I was 17, got hired on staff, originally as a video editor. It was supposed to be a high school college job, and moved over to live production, did lighting design, stage design, special projects, things like that for years. And then over the years, just took over more leading the AVL team. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we're very much a small church mentality within our team, and we all work together. But it's been awesome just to see the different opportunities to help lead the team. And today I kind of, again, still focus on that staging and production side of things, stage design, production design, but been doing it for 23 years now on staff and loving it.
That's awesome. All right, guys, we are celebrating Valentine's Day and romance today. So we want the story. We want the romance, the edge of our seat. Will they, won't they?
Won't they?
Give us the story of how you guys fell in love.
Yeah. So I had heard of Alexa when she was volunteering a couple of times. And I had some pastors at the church, hey, you need to get to know this girl.
How old are you in this?
Oh, this was 3.5 years ago.
Okay.
So we've only been married about 2.5 years. Okay. We dated for about a year. So we're still newlyweds. But yeah, so okay. Well, then I just have this, she came on staff. It was like, okay, not really something, okay. But several pastors said, no, you need to get to know this girl. You need to get to know this girl. Are you interested? Sure, I'm interested. Okay. All right. Well, then the next week, she comes over to me and asks me to put a screen protector on her phone. This is Alexa. She is a strong, independent woman. She knows how to put a screen protector on her phone.
Yes.
So it was pretty obvious in that moment. And as I was putting on the screen protector in the offices, I go, hey, can I be vulnerable with you for a moment? And I think there's something here. I like you. I think you like me. She goes, yeah. So I just need some time. But see where this goes. Okay. That was a Tuesday. Thursday was our first date. And then a year later, we're married, and here we are.
So what we're saying here is Alexa made the first move by asking for help with her screen protector.
Exactly.
And Alexa, did you know exactly what you were doing?
She made it obvious.
Oh, I knew exactly what I was doing.
Well, then who initiated the first date if Daniel opens with, I need some time?
Alexa.
So she said, your time is 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we.
That's how our life has been ever since.
I asked him if he wanted to go to lunch on Thursday. I was like, let's go to lunch. And I think I had lunch with his mom or something.
No.
Oh,
yeah. So
I don't even remember, guys. I'm a bad storyteller.
After that Tuesday, I reached out. So said, okay, need a little bit of time. And on Tuesdays, or that Thursday, I said, hey, you want to grab lunch? Just something, because again, I had gotten out of a previous relationship, and so just didn't feel ready yet to jump right back in. She goes, no, I have plans. Dinner? And I just felt that calling of, why am I waiting? All right, yeah, dinner. And so we go have a great meal, and that was our first date. And then do about 3 or 4 dates in the span of like a week and a half. And there you go.
Yeah. Blake,
we got engaged, 6 or 7 months after we dated? Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. How did you do it, Daniel?
That was fun. So we love boating. We have a pontoon boat on Grapevine Lake, and we love to go out there and just relax. And so I wanted to tie that into it. So I ended up building this 30-foot wide I love you sign
out of neon. It looked so cool.
Had a little remote for it set up on this cliffside on this lake. And so tried to petition the pontoon boat the best I could. And then got down on one knee, was sunset, fired up the light, and asked her to marry me.
It was so sweet.
That is adorable. You know, Toby, you and I have been on a boat together. And if I was proposing to you on a boat, I would say, you want to drop anchor and put a ring on this thing?
Oh,
that's
Blake.
such a good line.
I missed an opportunity there. What can I say?
Yeah. I think this story is just so funny. It's like, I can see the rom-com movie script writing itself. It's like, it's a story of 2 production people falling in love with screen protectors and lighting displays. You guys are using the tools of the trade in order to further your romantic relationship. I think it's adorable.
Do you have a photo of this whole setup when you got engaged?
Yes.
If you do,
yes.
Send it to us. We will put that out when this episode comes out. That'll be a fun tease.
Yeah. Now, I want to know who's the boss at work and who's the boss at home.
Daniel is the boss at work.
Oh.
That's about it.
He said it, not me.
Yeah.
Is he technically the boss?
Yes, he's
Okay.
technically. So again, flat organization.
Right.
But Daniel is like our team lead. And I say air quotes like this, not because it's a joke, but because he is. Like, he is the team lead of like the engineers and the production managers. But I am definitely like the right hand of like organization and kind of keeping everybody on the same page and making sure that, calendars are filled out and people are in the right spot. But Daniel is definitely like our team lead.
And what was the last HR complaint you had to make about him?
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to a friend who is also on our team. We had some friends over on Monday night for some games. And he goes, you know what's so funny is you'll make a comment and you'll look at me and be like, why did he say that? And then Daniel will do the same thing right back to me as soon as you look away. I'm like, oh, okay, good.
Okay, that was where I was going next. If he's the team lead, do you ever have those moments where you and your friend are like, man, can you believe Daniel like said or did this? And like suddenly you get sucked into that. Like, that's pretty complicated when the team lead is your husband.
Yes. And I think that's something that happens like pretty often. Daniel and I talk about quite a bit that I came from a very different world. Church production is all Daniel has ever done. And specifically like fellowship church production is all Daniel has ever done.
It's the only job I've ever had.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so I think there's some space in there where I'm like, it doesn't have to have, like, we don't have to do it that way. Like, there's all these other ways we could do it. And so I think sometimes that is definitely a like point of contention. And so it's knowing like what's important enough and what do I feel passionately enough about. The thing is, Daniel will never do something that is like morally wrong. Daniel will never do something that is going to compromise safety. Those are things that he values so much that, we're splitting hairs when it's something that we're talking about. It is never like, well, I think we should go left and Daniel thinks we should go right. Like, they're minute little details.
Yeah.
And so just knowing, okay, well, that's fine. We don't have to do it my way. Not a big deal. If he wants to do it that way, we'll do it that way. And we'll come under that authority and say, okay,
Yeah.
sure.
But it does make coming home sometimes a little challenging, that's just part of it. And so we have to figure out how to create those separations, play a lot of games, go out on the boat and just remove that side of it after hours.
Yeah, I don't want to put you too on the spot, but I gotta ask, like, what is that like? Because, when I go home from work, I'm like, Allison, let me tell you this crazy thing Toby said or did. You can't go home. I'm sorry, I never said that, Toby. You guys can't go home and say that. I mean, what is that like? You just church and state, you don't bring it up at all. You put it in a box, or is it because you're married, you're vulnerable enough to just talk about whatever?
Right. That's I think a key aspect of it, because we are married and we have to have that vulnerability where there are times where I have to realize, okay, this is not a work situation. This is a husband situation. So she might be complaining something about work that I may have a viewpoint on it, but I have to turn that off and just be there and be supportive in that moment. And it is a fine line of figuring out where to step in and where to just, okay, let go and even join in that vent a little bit, because that, we all feel it. But that's a key aspect of it. If I always throw on the work hat or the church hat there, it's going to get very, very conflicted quickly.
And I think I often will say like, okay, I'm going to say this. And I'm like, I'll either say like, I need you to put your husband hat on, or like, I need to take your work hat off. Or like, this thing that happened today, like, I don't want to talk about work part of it. Like, I'm frustrated about the situation that happened. And I think that has been a learning experience over the last 3 years of knowing kind of when to say what and how to kind of phrase it. And there are some things that just like happened a couple of days ago. Like, oh, we just like fundamentally disagree about how that should be done. Okay. Like, at some point somebody has to resign to, okay, well, that's fine. We'll do it that way. And
no, I think somebody just has to resign.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. There are some days where I'm like, what are we doing?
Do you guys have a common enemy that you just sort of bond over making fun of them, like your worship pastor?
Or to keep them out of trouble, a piece of gear maybe that they can complain about.
The PM1D.
Don't you dare talk dirty.
Those are gone.
Mean about the
Yeah. Sadly, those are gone, but we still got some Sony HDC 930s if y'all want to play with some 20-year-old cameras.
Okay, fun stuff.
That is a day at church gear all the time.
Yeah. Well, speaking of playing with 20-year-old things, let's go with I think it's way more than 20 years old, but an old game show.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to play the Newlywed game.
Okay.
And so you guys aren't really newlyweds, but so what we're going to do is I have some questions for Alexa, and Alexa's going to answer them about Daniel. Daniel, you need to have the answer as well, and then you'll reveal if she got the answer right. You guys understand how the game's going to go?
We're ready.
Great. Okay. So let me pull these up.
Oh, wow, Toby. Terrible audio trying to pull something up. We're going to sit here in silence.
Shut up. Here we go. All right, Alexa, number
Power of
one.
editing. Come on.
Who is Daniel's celebrity crush?
I thought these were going to be production-based, Toby. Like, what's his console crush?
Nope.
I know that one.
What's that one?
No.
MA3.
Hold on.
Let's do
Gosh.
both. Let's do both.
Why are you jumping ahead? I have other questions.
I feel uncomfortable.
Okay, celebrity crush.
Yes.
Do you have one?
I don't think I have one. I don't know.
I have seen real couples get in fights over this when me and Allison have asked them, so I'm nervous.
No, this is
I
fun.
really, if I would even ask you, I'm trying to think of one for you. I don't know.
Okay.
I
Well,
just don't think that's a part of our life.
if you can't agree on one, then this leads to our second question, which is perfect. Alexa, what are you two most likely to argue about?
At work.
No, just in general.
No, it's got to be production
It
based.
doesn't. Shut up, Blake.
Do.
I have my answer.
Okay. Daniel, you got your answer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is it, Alexa?
If something gets left out on the counter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I am with
Yeah,
you there.
so-
Yes and amen.
I am a very much. I didn't keep a calendar before I started dating Alexa. Very relaxed, very just unorganized in that standpoint of it. And over here is 100% opposite. If I have a mug that I keep on by the coffee maker, if it's a few inches over, she'll notice it. Not an issue, but she'll notice it. That's how detailed she is.
And scoot it over.
If you didn't keep a calendar before Alexa, is it now just like, hey, Alexa, can you add this to my calendar?
Well played.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we were, all iOS and Apple products beforehand, made that simple.
All right, Alexa, what's the best thing that Daniel can cook?
And is it cooking up a mix on Sunday?
No.
Oh, that was an emphatic no.
I have it.
Okay.
Okay, what is it?
Burger.
Yeah, good grill steak. Yeah.
Is yours
Okay.
grill? Is
Yeah,
general.
yeah.
All right. Well, both things are made on the grill. All right. And one more
Yeah.
question. Alexa, what is Daniel's favorite piece of production gear of all time?
Of all time? Okay.
Okay.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the first MA1 you ever bought.
There you go. Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Lighting console. Just the idea of programming lights. I mean, that was most of my career has been programming lights. Haven't sat behind a desk consistently in 5 or 6 years, but I miss that. That was always so much fun.
All right, Alexa, you did very well. I think you got about 3 out of 4 there. So, Daniel, over to you. We'll see how many points you can score. All right, we're going to get a little more spicy because, you're the husband. It's fine. Daniel, what would Alexa say is your most annoying habit?
At work.
No,
Okay, which one?
anywhere.
Most annoying habit?
Yeah, Daniel's most annoying habit.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Got it locked in? What is it, Daniel?
Yeah. Doing things she says.
Oh. No, it's the noises.
The noises.
Oh.
Okay.
Daniel's a verbal processor, so he'll sit in his office and like say something. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, he's like, well, I'm not talking to you. Okay.
Okay, Daniel, who fell in love first?
Oh my gosh, Toby. Brutal.
Okay.
That's an easy one. I got it.
Okay. What is it?
I did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He was
Okay.
playing it cool that whole time with, you're going to have to give me some time. Really, he was like, oh gosh, I'm in love and I have to not be too weird too quick.
That's right.
Too weird, too quick.
All right,
Yeah,
Daniel.
let the weird out slowly, right?
Yeah.
That's what me and Toby try to do with each other.
All right. Let's get you in a little bit of trouble here. Daniel, who's more stubborn?
At work.
Shut up, Blake.
Both. Look at my answer. Sorry.
It's fine.
Gave it too early.
No, I knew.
Yeah.
It's me.
She knew.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay. And finally, what is Alexa's biggest pet peeve when it comes to live production at Fellowship?
At work.
You're fired at work.
I'm your podcast spouse, Toby. You can't fire me.
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Communicating changes quickly into the whole team. What would you
I would just say probably just a little bit more general, like communications into excellence.
Mhm.
Like, did we do it excellently? And if not, is it because we didn't communicate?
Okay. Daniel, you got 2 out of 4. So, Alexa, you win.
There we go.
2 out of 2 games.
Yep.
Yeah.
You win marriage.
Well, this is why he calls her supreme leader. I mean,
All right, Blake. Now I have the Newlywed game for you and I. Question number 1. Who's my favorite employee at Church Gear?
the one you hired most recently. So Dan.
Yes, not you. That was the right answer.
Of course.
I know.
To shift it back a little bit to our audience here, production folks listening to this, it's very fascinating having a production couple that is married that works at church together. Do y'all have any advice that you have learned or picked up that maybe you were able to, notice quicker because the speed of trust is much faster with you guys being married? So any tips just in general on working better with your fellow production people and that relationship dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it applies to all production, but those short accounts. I mean, we being married can realize that anything that festers because we're always with each other can build up real quick. Well, that can happen with anybody on your team, right? And so if you feel something, if there's a little rub, address it. Have the conversation. Have the hard conversations first. And so that way we can have those short accounts and go back to ultimately what we're called to do. That's the beautiful thing about what we do. We actually all want to be here, and we actually all have the same goals and desires for, to support our church. And so let's get the frustration, the headaches out of the way, have those hard conversations, and move forward.
Okay, I want a word of advice. I am a single tech at my church, and I'm looking for love. I'm hopeful. Do you guys have any words of wisdom on finding love in church production?
I would say get involved in the small groups. I know production, it can be really hard, especially fellowship. I ask you to come in early. I need you the whole service. I need you between services. I need you at the end of service. And so it can be hard, to get out into your atrium. It can be hard to get out into your small group classes, or it can be hard to get to your Bible studies. But prioritizing, and if you are a leader in the church, you're prioritizing your volunteers, getting out and getting involved in a small group, getting involved in a Bible study, and making sure that people are getting to do community together. Maybe that looks like, backstage you're having a time of community, and you have lunch together once a month, or you're doing something that is creating some capacity for community in a space where it doesn't always happen. So I'd say if you're single, are you putting yourself out there? Are you involved in your community, your church community? Are you getting plugged into places in your church? Try to meet people. And we're all hopeful that you meet somebody at church, and that's the goal. And it would behoove you to get out into your community.
Yeah.
And on that, I mean, if you have leaders in your life, pastors or others that are, telling you about somebody, take advantage of it. You don't know what you're missing.
Blake, not all of us get approached by beautiful women asking them to, put a screen protector on our phone. We're not as lucky as Daniel.
That's true. That's quite the layup. Do you think that it's advisable to date each other if you're on the same serve team or the same, fellow production people. Daniel's you almost
Daniel's
shook your
like,
head.
no.
You almost shook your head.
Daniel
No.
said no so bad.
So again, that when I mentioned that the right people in my life that both knew myself and Alexa really, really well, who I have counsel with, strongly recommended that we need to get to know each other. And that was a big deal for me to have that right counsel. Otherwise, no, I wouldn't have. But they knew both of our hearts. They knew where we were. And it definitely turned out to be the right relationship for us and something I would never change. But you have to make sure that you have the right people in your court. Because if you're doing this alone, right, it's not going to go well. And make sure to have that environment. Make sure to have the right people around you.
I would actually, funny enough, I would counter to that a little bit of like, I think church production schedules like are so crazy. If you are on staff, like there are seasons that are so busy. And if I was still in the classroom, like I wouldn't see Daniel. I just wouldn't. Like
right, our hours,
I think there is some benefit and some beauty to like working with people who have your same hours, who have your same interests. And I don't always think that that's, that's the worst thing, because you understand when somebody calls and says, hey, I have to work late because blah, 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 blah. Okay. Gear breaks, stuff happens. Like there's not a lot we can do about that. Like, oh yeah, you're right. Graphics didn't get that thing done in time. So now you have to work late. Like, okay, I get it. But if I was teaching, would I understand it as much? I don't know.
Right. We're equally yoked, definitely from that standpoint.
Yeah.
We both understand the commitment that we've made to the church and to serve that house. And y'all know church life there's no hours to it. It's not a 9-to-5 job. I've always said, I'm not paid to do what I do. I'm paid so I can do what I do. It gives me that ability to live the lifestyle 24/7. And the beautiful thing for me is, somebody did come along in my life that was willing to jump into that lifestyle, was willing to live through the surf of working in church ministry. And it's been an amazing journey for us so far.
Our boss is one of the people who set us up. And I was talking to him, I don't know, probably a year ago or so. And he goes, I didn't think I'd ever meet anybody who was more of a workaholic than Daniel. And then I met you. And I was like, yeah, okay. So again, we're in the same sphere. We're doing similar things. We believe in the mission of the church so much. And I think that has kind of helped.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'll always remember this. A pastor said one time, if you're single and you're looking for a spouse, run the race that God has called you to. And every now and then look to your left, look to your right, see who's running with you. That's where you find a spouse.
Or if you're like Toby, run as fast as you can and stay looking to your left, because you were going pretty hard and fast the moment you could at that small group.
I know. As soon as I heard the name Shelly and then I met her, I was like, okay, yep, middle school yearbook, let's go.
Let's go.
So me and Toby sometimes can function as each other's work spouses, and I'm curious for you two, do y'all have a work spouse that is this not each other? Because you are literally each other's work spouses.
I do. I don't think you do.
I used to.
You used to. That's true. I do. So there are 2 audio engineers, myself, and then another engineer, and I definitely am like, all right, you got everything for today. Here's the rundown for today. Here's like, oh, you need that PO put in. Let me do that for you. Okay. Oh, that's great. Oh, today you have a 3 o'clock, a 2 o'clock. Make sure you take this with you when you go to your 1:30. So yes, I definitely do.
I
Love
don't
that.
these days now.
Yeah.
Which makes it challenging at times, right? Because then my work spouse becomes my real spouse and we get to bring that home with us.
Yeah. Well, we are always looking for good disaster stories on our episodes. Do you guys have a disaster story at Fellowship that you guys attacked together?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of one. Okay, you got one, honestly.
Immediate thing that comes to my mind. So we upgraded our entire control room last winter.
Yeah,
January. So right before C3 conference, and got it all done. And there were time and time again where I would like pick up the phone and I'd be like, so this thing isn't going to come in time. What do we want to do? Oh, this like floor piece doesn't fit anymore that we took out. What are we going to do? And I think I think pulling cable through the floor while Daniel was homesick was probably about the end of my limit. Our boss came in and said, like, we got to pull everything out of this rack. They have to be out of the room by 5 o'clock today. And I was like,
What?
like, first off, it's 3 o'clock. Okay. Second off, Daniel's not here. So I don't know how that's going to go. And he goes, I'll help you. And I'm like, okay. All right. So we go in there, we start cutting stuff. And I start calling Daniel of like, hey, he's cutting out. Blah, 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 blah. And Daniel goes, oh. But we did it. And
We made it work. Yes.
And Daniel came in the next day. Shouldn't have been at work because he was still very sick.
Glad I did.
And glad he did, because definitely cut out some things that were a problem. Don't worry, they were fixed.
Yeah.
Blake, that sounds like you going in for surgery and the doctor being like, well, we cut out some stuff, but we made it work.
It's like, there was well, she just said we cut out a lot of things that were a problem. And, suddenly I come out of that 100 pounds lighter. They had a lot of problems to cut out on me.
Yes.
There you go.
And, I'm always trying to cut out problems for our production friends. So if you guys had a tech takeaway to kind of wrap our episode on like, this is what you would say, some advice to a room full of production people, what would each of you say? And you're definitely not competing for the best tech takeaway here. It's not Alexa's third chance to dunk on you, Daniel.
Yeah, she probably would. Probably still will. I'd say that one of the things within church production is realizing that sometimes we need to get out of ourselves and get out of our own way sometimes. I think it's one of the things that we have to remember. We're here to support ministry, and we're here to support the vision of our church's senior leadership, how it's laid out. Sometimes, especially in production, we can get so passionate about the art, as we should, but are we missing the actual point of what we're trying to do? I was on a podcast with thought leaders and used the word support, and some people kind of took issue with that we're support staff. Well, that's really what I feel that we are. My whole role is to understand the vision of my worship pastor or my senior leadership, and then how can I support that? How can I make it as best it can be? Don't want to set them up for failure, get the right gear, the right equipment, but let's also look at, is what we're getting, what we're doing, serving our actual mission and vision? And if it's not, why are we investing in that? So let's put the time into where our leadership, our vision, our church's vision is. And I think so many times we can get lost in that production side and the gear, because trust me, as somebody that just got a bunch of new gear, it's fun to get lost in gear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty cliche, and we say it a lot in education, but why are you here? Mm-hmm. We support the mission and the vision of Fellowship Church wholeheartedly, and that is why we do what we do. And do you remember why you do what you do? And so have you heard stories recently of people coming to know the Lord because of what's happening in your church? And if not, you need to hear those stories. I think, we have a guy on our team who was taking some computers and laptops into the Apple store the other day. And he met somebody at church or at the Apple store and was like, hey, you should come to church with me. He was here this next weekend, and now he's going to run monitors for me this weekend. Do you have tangible stories of people getting involved and people coming to know the Lord in what you're doing? And if not, you need to go to your Connect team. You need to go to your outreach team and ask them, hey, can you tell me some stories of some people whose lives have been changed in the last 3 or 4 months because of what we're doing here? Because nothing will put the fire back into your heart of I can go pull that cable, across the parking lot for you. Not a big deal. I'm happy to, knowing that there are people who are coming to know the Lord because of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Making sure to tend the fire of your why in your heart is a very good tech takeaway. I actually, a little bit of a tangent here, but our men's ministry just relaunched at Fellowship. I also go to a church called Fellowship. And they showed a video of this guy who had, lived next to this dude, and it's men's ministry. So they're probably in their 30s to 40s, and just kind of was neighborly to him long enough. And that guy was like, man, you live differently. Your kids act differently than my kids. What is that? So he comes to men's ministry with him, and then he gets saved. His whole family gets saved, and just talking about the impact of men's ministry on him. And I'm watching this video, and they're sitting around a fire. It's nighttime. I can see like where the lights were placed. And I'm watching this video thinking, this is at another church. Like our new men's minister moved from Colorado. And I'm thinking, the production person who shot this and then the person who edited it has no idea that like 150 dudes are about to cry in another state watching the story of what men's ministry can do for your church. And so, Alexa, your tech takeaway just really fires me up in that same vein, because I was like, we should really be telling the stories more often. And I was like, this is the power of production. Like, it can get you fired up all over again.
Yeah.
I love it, Blake. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us and, wowing us with romance and inspiring stories of marriage. Anywhere you'd like to point people to? Anything you want to plug?
And are you going to stay married after this podcast?
Yes, I think we will be okay.
But Daniel's in timeout.
Not this time.
He said this time.
I would say in the production world, it can get difficult at times because we can sometimes feel on an island within our own churches. And I think production is a very unique role that other church staff may not understand, because it's both very much relational, but also we have to get the technology to work. And so it makes it hard to live in both worlds. A few years ago, some other production people and I started a program called Thought Leader Connect. And
you were one of the founding starters of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Daniel's
cool.
pretty cool, and he doesn't lead on to it.
I think we've been so distracted
I like to live behind the scenes.
the legend of Alexa. We've missed out on this. Okay.
Yeah, there
so
you
tell
go.
us about Thought Connectors.
So Thought Leader Connect, it's basically, think of it as an opportunity for just production people to get together, and we do Zoom calls about every other week in our sessions, usually about 8 or 9 of them. We make sure that we're not doing things around Christmas or some of the bigger events. But it's just an opportunity to talk through some of the challenges that are going on in your organization and talk through some leadership ideas and just meet the other church production people in your area or across the nation. I myself lead a group where we meet. It's about 16 of us that meet every other Monday night. And it's great just to have that time. It's all on Zoom, so it's easy to get into, doesn't cost anything, and you can meet people from all different churches. So I recommend you check it out.
That's awesome. Where can they find Thought Leader Connect?
So just tl-connect.com.
Sweet.
Or Instagram.
Or on Instagram, and you should be good to go.
Yeah.
We talk all the time at Church Gear about how important it is to know fellow techs, because Justin Firesheets gave us that advice. So really take Daniel up on that. That is a prime softball that just got lobbed to him, in the same way that got lobbed to you, in the same way that screen protector got lobbed to him to get married.
Good things come to great techs. Like, this is the moral of the story here.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope to see you back next week for more absurd stories, tech takeaways, and overall buffoonery here at the Church Gear Studios.
Blake, can you put this screen protector on my phone?
Toby, I did worry that in this episode we are the other married couple, and sure, I will try. I'll take it to AT&T.
Well, thank you. And when you inevitably screw it up because you know nothing about tech, what should I do?
You should probably send this episode to a friend and say, will you be my tech friend instead of Blake? Because he's not a really good one.
Yeah, that's true. Share this episode. Maybe share it with your spouse. And, just let's celebrate marriage on this Valentine's Day.
Yeah, and if your spouse is ever like, I don't understand your world, this is the episode to send them.
That's right.